Dr. Lisa Martinez stared at the bright screen in front of her. The numbers and pictures on it made no sense. She had been looking at the same data for 3 hours now. Her coffee sat cold on the desk beside her keyboard. This can't be right, she said to herself. The room around her was quiet, except for the soft hum of computers. The Xenobiology Research Institute was almost empty at this late hour. Most of her coworkers had gone home to their families. But Lisa could not leave. Not when she was looking at something that would change everything. She turned to look at her research partner, Dr. Kevin Brown. He was sitting at another computer across the room. His hair was messy from running his hands through it. He looked as confused as she felt. "Kevin, come look at this," Lisa called out. Kevin walked over to her desk. His footsteps echoed in the quiet room. When he saw her computer screen, his eyes went wide. "That's impossible," he said. The screen showed a map of their galaxy. It was covered with dots of different colors. Each dot was a planet with smart life on it. The colors showed what kind of animals these smart beings had come from long ago. Green dots were planets where the smart beings came from plant eaters. Blue dots were for beings that came from animals that ate both plants and meat, but mostly plants. Red dots were for beings that came from hunters, animals that killed other animals for food. Lisa pointed at the screen. "Look at all the green and blue dots. There are hundreds of them." Kevin nodded. The galaxy was full of green and blue dots. They covered almost every part of the map. "Now look for red dots," Lisa said. Kevin looked carefully at the screen. He searched every corner of the galaxy map. After a long minute, he found only one. "Red dot, there's just one," he said quietly. "Just one," Lisa agreed. Out of 847 smart species in the galaxy, only one came from hunters. Kevin leaned closer to the screen. "Which planet is it?" Lisa clicked on the red dot. A small window opened up with information about the planet. Kevin read the name out loud. Earth. They both stared at the screen in silence. Earth was their home planet. Humans were the only smart beings in the galaxy that came from hunters. "This has to be wrong," Kevin said. "Run the program again." Lisa typed commands into her computer. The screen went black for a moment. Then the galaxy map appeared again. The same pattern showed up. Hundreds of green and blue dots. One red dot for Earth. "It's the same result," Lisa said. Kevin walked back to his own computer. "I'm going to check our data sources. Maybe there's an error somewhere." For the next hour, both scientists worked in silence. They checked their numbers again and again. They looked at information from dozens of different alien governments. They studied reports from space explorers and scientists from across the galaxy. Every source told the same story. All the smart alien species came from peaceful animals. Animals that ate plants or small bugs. Animals that ran away from danger. Instead of fighting, the Zephyrians looked like tall, thin humans, but they came from creatures that lived in trees and ate fruit. The Therakians were big and strong and looked scary, but their ancestors had been gentle giants that ate grass and leaves. Even the Crystalline Collective, who were made of living rock, had started as small creatures that filtered tiny bits of food from water. "I found something interesting," Kevin said. He had been reading old reports from alien worlds. Lisa walked over to his desk. On his screen was a report about the Therakians. These aliens looked like warriors. They had sharp teeth and strong muscles. Many humans thought they were dangerous. "Look at this," Kevin said, pointing to a paragraph in the report. The Therakians only became fighters after they learned to travel in space. Before that, they lived in peaceful groups and never hurt other animals. Lisa read the report carefully. So they learned to fight. They weren't born that way. "Exactly," Kevin said. "Their teeth and muscles developed because they started eating meat after they became smart. But their ancestors were plant eaters. Lisa felt a chill run down her back. Kevin, do you know what this means? Kevin looked up at her. What? Humans are different from every other smart species in the galaxy. We're the only ones who came from killers. The two scientists looked at each other. The weight of this discovery was starting to hit them. Humans had always wondered why they seemed more aggressive than most aliens they met. Why humans were quick to fight when threatened. Why they were so competitive and always trying to be the best at everything. Now they knew. Humans came from predators. Their ancestors had survived by hunting and killing other animals. That killer instinct was still inside every human, even after thousands of years of civilization. We need to tell Dr. Alan Scott about this, Lisa said. Dr. Scott was their boss. He ran the whole research project. Lisa picked up her phone and called him at home. Alan, you need to come to the lab right now, she said when he answered. Lisa, it's almost midnight. Can't this wait until morning? No, it can't. We found something that changes everything we know about humans. 20 minutes. Later, Dr. Scott walked into the lab. He was wearing casual clothes and looked tired. But when he saw the data on Lisa's computer, he became wide awake. Show me everything, he said. Lisa and Kevin spent the next hour explaining their discovery. They showed him all their data. They explained how they had checked and double-checked their work. They showed him reports from alien worlds that confirmed their findings. Dr. Scott sat in silence for a long time after they finished. He stared at the galaxy map with its single red dot. Do the aliens know about this? He finally asked. We don't think so, Kevin said. All the reports we read seem to assume that all smart species evolved the same way. None of them mention that humans are different. Dr. Scott stood up and began pacing around the room. This explains so much about human behavior. Why we're more aggressive than other species. Why we're better at fighting and competing. Why other aliens sometimes seem afraid of us. Lisa nodded. We're the only predators in a galaxy full of prey animals. What do we do with this information? Kevin asked. Dr. Scott stopped pacing. He looked at both scientists with a serious expression. First, we don't tell anyone else about this until we understand what it means. Second, we need to dig deeper. If humans are really the only predator species to become smart, we need to find out why. What happened to all the other predator species? Why are we the only ones left? Lisa felt another chill. You think something happened to the others? Dr. Scott nodded slowly. In a galaxy with billions of planets, the odds of only one predator species becoming smart are basically zero. Something doesn't add up. The three scientists looked at the galaxy map again. The single red dot seemed to glow brighter than before. Earth stood alone among the stars, the only world where hunters had learned to think. But where were all the others? Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the message arrived. He was on his ship, the Horizon, floating in space near a big space station called Nexus Prime. The station was huge, with ships from many different alien worlds docked around it. The message was marked as secret. It came from Dr. Lisa Martinez back on Earth. Jake knew Lisa from his military days. She was smart and careful. If she was sending secret messages, something big was happening. Jake opened the message in his private office. The door locked automatically. When he started reading, Jake, I need your help. My research team found something important about humans and aliens. Can't talk about it through normal channels. The government people are watching us now. Meet me at these coordinates in 3 days. Trust no one else, Lisa. Jake looked at the coordinates. They pointed to an old mining planet called Kepler 442b. It was in empty space, far from any major trade routes. No one would think to look for them there. Jake had known Lisa for 10 years. She had helped his ship's crew when they got sick with an alien virus. She was not the type of person to send dramatic messages unless something was really wrong. 3 days later, Jake landed his small shuttle on Kepler 442b. The planet was mostly empty. Old mining equipment sat rusted and broken across the rocky surface. The air was thin but breathable for humans. He found Lisa and her team in an old mining tunnel deep underground. Dr. Kevin Brown was there, along with their boss, Dr. Alan Scott. They had brought portable computers and lights to set up a temporary lab. "Thanks for coming, Jake," Lisa said. She looked tired and worried. "What's going on?" Jake asked. "Why all the secrecy?" Lisa activated a small hologram projector. The image of their galaxy appeared in the air between them. "We discovered something about human evolution," she said. "Something that makes us different from every other smart species in the galaxy." She explained their findings. How humans were the only species that came from hunters. How all other aliens came from plant-eaters or peaceful animals. Jake listened carefully. As a military officer, he had always noticed that humans seemed more aggressive than most aliens. Human soldiers were often better fighters. Human negotiators were more competitive. Now he understood why. "So we're the only predators," Jake said. "That's interesting, but why is it secret?" Dr. Scott stepped forward. "Because we think something happened to all the other predator species. And when we tried to research it, the Galactic Council classified our project." Jake frowned. The Galactic Council was the big government that included most alien civilizations. They usually supported scientific research. "Why would they stop your research?" he asked. Kevin activated another hologram. This one showed a timeline of galactic history going back millions of years. "We started looking for extinct predator species," Kevin said. "Species that might have become smart, but died out before we met them. What we found was disturbing. The timeline showed red marks scattered throughout history. Each mark represented a predator species that had reached early intelligence. The Devourers of Rigel 7, Kevin said, pointing to a mark from 800,000 years ago. They were smart hunters who built cities and tools. Then they suddenly went extinct." He pointed to another mark. The Void Hunters from the nearby galaxy. They were developing space travel 400,000 years ago. They also went extinct suddenly. Jake studied the timeline. There were dozens of red marks, all representing predator species that had disappeared. "Maybe they destroyed themselves," Jake suggested. "Predators might be too aggressive to build stable civilizations." Lisa shook her head. "That's what we thought at first. But look at the pattern." She zoomed in on several extinction events. Each species went extinct right when they were developing advanced technology. Not before, when they were primitive. Not after, when they were established. Right at the moment when they were becoming dangerous. Dr. Scott pulled up another display. "And look at this. Every extinction happened during a period when the early Galactic Council was expanding into new regions of space." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Are you saying the Council killed them?" "We're saying the timing is very suspicious," Dr. Scott replied. "But we need more evidence. That's why we asked you here." Lisa turned to Jake. "We need access to restricted databases. Military records. Information that only Earth Alliance officers can access." Jake was quiet for a moment. As a captain, he had clearance to access many classified files. But using that access for unauthorized research could end his career. "What exactly do you need?" he asked. "Battle reports from the early days of human contact with aliens," Lisa said. "Any records of first contact with species that later went extinct. Archaeological surveys of dead worlds." Jake nodded slowly. "I can get that information. But if you're right about this, it means the Galactic Council has been lying to us for 50 years. "It means more than that," Dr. Scott said quietly. "It means they might see humans as a threat that needs to be eliminated. The group worked through the night, planning their investigation. Jake would use his military access to gather classified information. Lisa and her team would analyze the data and look for patterns. As the planet's small sun rose over the mining facility. They had a plan, but they also knew they were taking a big risk. If the Galactic Council really had been destroying predator species, then humans might be next. Jake flew back to his ship, thinking about everything he had learned. For 50 years, humans had thought they were welcomed members of a peaceful galactic community. But now it seemed possible that they were actually prisoners who didn't know they were in jail. Back on the horizon, Jake began accessing military databases. He used his captain's codes to download files about early human exploration, reports from first contact missions, archaeological surveys of empty planets. What he found made him sick to his stomach. There were records of at least 12 intelligent species that humans had discovered, only to find them already extinct. Worlds with cities and technology, but no living inhabitants. The official reports blamed natural disasters, diseases, or civil wars. But Jake noticed something the report writers had missed. Every dead world showed signs of attack from space. Melted cities that looked like they had been hit by energy weapons. Radiation patterns that matched military starship engines. Jake copied all the files to a secure drive. Then he sent a coded message to Lisa. Found what you were looking for. It's worse than we thought. 3 days later, they met again on Kepler 442b. This time, Jake brought a full team of trusted officers from his ship. Lieutenant Commander Rachel Green, his communications expert. Major Sam Harris, his head of security. Dr. Nina Walsh, his science officer. Jake shared the military files with Lisa's team. The evidence was clear. The Galactic Council had been systematically destroying intelligent predator species for millions of years. They missed us, Lisa said, staring at the data. Somehow, Earth slipped through their surveillance network. Jake pulled up one more file. I found a Council intelligence report from 70,000 years ago. A scout ship observed early humans during the Ice Age. They classified us as likely to go extinct due to climate change and never checked on us again. Dr. Scott laughed bitterly. We survived by accident. A clerical error saved the human race. Rachel Green, the communications officer, had been working on her own research. I've been monitoring Council communications, she said. There's increased chatter about Earth lately. References to something called the Predator Protocols. What are the Predator Protocols? Jake asked. Rachel shook her head. I don't know. The messages are heavily encrypted, but the tone suggests they're emergency procedures of some kind. Major Harris spoke up. If the Council sees us as a threat, they might be planning a preemptive strike against Earth. The room fell silent. Earth had billions of people living on it. Human colonies existed on dozens of worlds. If the Galactic Council decided humans were too dangerous to live, they had the military power to destroy every human settlement in the galaxy. We need to get this information to Earth government, Jake said. Lisa shook her head. We tried that. Already, our research project was classified and shut down. Someone in the Earth government is working with the Council to keep this secret. Dr. Walsh, the science officer, had been analyzing the extinction data. There's something else, she said. Look at the pattern of how predator species were eliminated. She showed them a tactical analysis. The Council didn't just kill them. They studied them first. Every extinction was preceded by years of scientific observation and cultural exchange. Jake understood the implication. They're doing the same thing to us. Learning about human psychology, our military capabilities, our weaknesses. How long do we have? Major Harris asked. Dr. Walsh checked her calculations. Based on the historical pattern, predator species were eliminated an average of 73 years after first contact with the Council. Humans made first contact 52 years ago. Math was simple and terrifying. Humans might have less than 20 years left before the Galactic Council decided they were too dangerous to exist. But now they knew the truth. And maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to survive. Rachel Green sat in her small office aboard the Horizon, surrounded by computer screens showing alien text and code. She had been working for 18 hours straight, trying to break the encryption on intercepted Galactic Council messages. Her eyes were red and tired, but she could not stop. The lives of every human in the galaxy might depend on what she found in these secret communications. The first breakthrough came at 3 a.m. ship time. A pattern in the alien code that repeated every few messages. Rachel had seen similar patterns before when decoding enemy transmissions during the border wars. "Got you," she whispered to herself. She typed commands into her computer, using the pattern as a key to unlock the encrypted messages. Slowly, the alien text began to change into English on her screen. What she read made her blood run cold. The messages were between high-ranking council members, discussing something called the Predator Protocols. These were not just emergency procedures. They were detailed plans for destroying entire species. Rachel printed out the most important messages and ran to find Captain Morrison. She found him in the ship's dining hall, eating breakfast with some of his officers. "Captain, you need to see this right away," she said, breathing heavily. Jake looked at her tired face and bloodshot eyes. "Rachel, when did you last sleep? Sleep can wait. Look at these messages." Jake read the first page. His face went pale. "Get Dr. Martinez on the communication system. Emergency call." 30 minutes later, Lisa and her team were connected to the Horizon through a secure video link. Rachel shared her discovery with everyone. "The Predator Protocols have been active for over 2 million years, Rachel explained. The Galactic Council was not always the peaceful alliance we know today. It started as a military coalition with one purpose: to eliminate all predator species before they could become galactic threats." She showed them a decoded message from the Council's military commander. "Any species that evolved from apex predators must be destroyed before they achieve interstellar travel. History shows that predator civilizations always become aggressive expansionists who threaten galactic peace." Dr. Kevin Brown shook his head in disbelief. "They've been committing genocide for millions of years." "Not just genocide," Rachel continued. "Systematic extermination based on evolutionary biology. They have detailed files on every predator species they've destroyed." She brought up another message. "The Devourers of Rigel 7 conquered 40 star systems in just 200 years. The Council response was to trigger the collapse of their home star, making it look like a natural disaster." Jake studied the tactical reports. "What about the Void Hunters?" Rachel found the relevant files. Biological warfare. The Council introduced a virus that was harmless to herbivorous species, but deadly to predators. It killed 99.8% of the Void Hunter population within 6 months. Dr. Lisa Martinez felt sick. "How many species have they killed?" "The files mention 847 intelligent species currently alive in the galaxy," Rachel said. "But there are references to over 1,200 species that once existed. That means they've eliminated more than 300 civilizations." Dr. Alan Scott was quiet for a long moment. "And somehow, humans were missed." Rachel pulled up the most important file of all. "Here's why. A Council scout ship observed Earth 70,000 years ago. Early humans were going through an ice age and appeared to be dying out. The scout classified Earth as predator threat neutralized by natural causes and recommended no further monitoring. The room was silent as everyone absorbed this information. "We survived because of paperwork," Jake said finally. A filing error saved the human race. But Rachel had more bad news. The Council discovered their mistake about 20 years ago. When humans started exploring beyond our solar system, they realized we were still alive and had become spacefaring. She showed them recent communications between Council leaders. They've been debating what to do about us ever since. Some want to implement the Predator protocols immediately. Others think it's too late, that destroying humans now would be noticed by other species. Dr. Scott leaned forward. What's the current status? Rachel's voice was grim. 3 months ago, the Council's military committee voted to begin Phase 1 of the Predator protocols regarding humanity. What's Phase 1? Jake asked. Rachel read from the classified documents. Detailed observation and analysis of human psychology, military capabilities, and social structures. Identification of key leaders and population centers. Development of species-specific extermination methods. Major Sam Harris, who had been listening quietly, finally spoke up. They're gathering intelligence for an attack. Rachel nodded. Phase 2 is isolation, cutting humans off from galactic trade and communication. Phase 3 is extermination using methods that appear to be natural disasters or internal conflicts. Lisa felt her hands shaking. How long do we have? The timeline varies depending on the species, Rachel said. But the average is 18 to 24 months from the start of Phase 1 to complete extermination. Dr. Nina Walsh had been analyzing the tactical data. There's something else troubling here. Look at the methods they used on different predator species. She brought up a comparison chart. They don't just kill randomly. Each extermination is carefully designed based on the target species psychology and culture. Jake studied the chart. What do you mean? The Devourers were proud warriors who valued honor above all else. So the Council destroyed their home star during a major religious ceremony, making it look like their gods had abandoned them. Dr. Walsh continued, the Void Hunters were individualistic and competitive. So the Council introduced a plague that made them turn against each other, thinking their own people were trying to kill them. The implication was clear. They're studying us to find the best way to destroy us, Lisa said. Rachel pulled up more recent intelligence reports. The Council has been conducting psychological studies on human behavior for the past 5 years. They're particularly interested in our tribal nature and our tendency toward internal conflict. Jake felt a chill. They're going to make us destroy ourselves. That's their preferred method, Rachel confirmed. Start a civil war or economic collapse that kills most humans, then clean up the survivors with natural disasters. Major Harris was studying the military assessments. Do we have any advantages? Rachel looked through the files. The Council's biggest fear is that humans might unite against them. Every successful predator species in history became dangerous when they stopped fighting each other and focused on external threats. Dr. Scott stood up and began pacing. Then that's what we have to do. We need to warn humanity about what's coming. How? Lisa asked. Our own government shut down our research. There might be Council agents in high positions on Earth. Jake had an idea. We go around the government. Leak the information to independent news organizations, scientific journals, military. Contacts who can't be silenced. Rachel was already thinking about the technical aspects. I can create an encrypted data package with all the evidence. We can transmit it simultaneously to hundreds of recipients across human space. What about the Council? Dr. Walsh asked. Won't they try to stop us? Jake smiled grimly. Let them try. If they act against us openly, it proves everything we're saying is true. The team spent the next 6 hours preparing their evidence package. They included the intercepted messages, historical data about extinct predator species, and analysis of the Council's methods. Rachel created multiple copies and prepared to transmit them. through different communication networks. Some would go to Earth, others to human colonies, and some to independent worlds where humans worked with alien species. Once we send this, there's no going back, Jake warned. The Council will know we discovered their secret. Lisa looked at her teammates. They were tired, scared, but determined. If we don't do this, humanity might have less than 2 years left. Dr. Scott nodded. Send it. Rachel's fingers moved across her keyboard. Encrypted data packets shot out. From the horizon toward hundreds of destinations across the galaxy. Within hours, the news was spreading across human space. Scientists, journalists, and military officers were reading the evidence that their friendly alien allies had been planning humanity's destruction for decades. But the team on the horizon knew their work was just beginning. They had exposed the threat, but now they had to help humanity survive it. In the depths of space, Council warships began changing course toward Earth. The Predator protocols were moving to Phase 2. The galaxy's greatest predators were about to find out if they could survive when the entire universe turned against them. But for the first time in millions of years, a predator species knew what was coming, and humans had never been more dangerous than when they were cornered. Ambassador Helen Carter had been the human representative to the Galactic Council for 8 years. She thought she understood alien politics. She was wrong. The council chambers were in chaos. Helen had never seen anything like it. Aliens from hundreds of different worlds were shouting at each other in dozens of languages. The translation systems were overloaded, creating a noise that sounded like a broken machine. 3 days ago, the leaked information from Dr. Martinez and Captain Morrison had reached every major news network in human space. Within hours, it had spread to alien worlds as well. Now everyone in the galaxy knew about the Predator protocols. Helen stood in the human delegation box, watching the panic unfold below her. The Zephyrian Prime Minister was demanding immediate military action against Earth. The crystalline collective representatives were flickering between different colors, which meant they were extremely agitated. But not all aliens were calling for war. Some were asking difficult questions about their own government. Dr. Nixtar, a respected Thracian philosopher, managed to get everyone's attention. His voice boomed through the chamber's sound system. For 2 million years, we have lived a lie, he said. We told ourselves we were peaceful explorers, bringing civilization to the galaxy. But we were actually murderers, destroying entire species because we were afraid of them. The chamber erupted in angry responses. Some aliens shouted that the Predator protocols were necessary for galactic peace. Others demanded to know why they had never been told about the systematic genocides. The council president, an elderly vegan named Zorkith, called for order. It took several minutes for the noise to die down. The information released by the humans is classified for good reason, Zorkith said. The Predator protocols have kept the galaxy safe for millions of years. Helen had prepared for this moment. She activated her delegation's microphone. Safe from what? She asked. From competition? From species that might challenge your control. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to the human delegation box. Helen continued. The leaked documents show that predator species were destroyed not because they were evil, but because they were successful. They expanded too quickly. They competed too effectively. They refused to accept the existing order. Zorkith's face darkened. Humans are proving our point. Even now, you show the aggressive behavior typical of predator species. We're showing the behavior of any species that discovers their neighbors. Have been planning their murder, Helen replied. The debate continued for hours. Helen found herself fighting, not just for humanity's right to exist, but for the truth about galactic history. Some aliens supported her. Dr. Nixtar presented evidence that many extinct natural disasters had actually been Council military operations. A group of young Zephyrian Scientists had analyzed the data and confirmed that the pattern of predator extinctions was too consistent to be coincidental, but fear was a powerful force. Many council members genuinely believed that predator species were inherently dangerous and needed to be eliminated. The Crystalline Collective's representative, a being that looked like a walking diamond, spoke in musical tones. The humans have been among us for 50 years. In that time, they have started 3 wars, colonized 47 worlds, and built the largest military fleet of any single species. Helen felt anger rising in her chest. We started those wars in self-defense. We colonized empty worlds or bought them legally. And we built our fleet because we're explorers, not conquerors. But you could become conquerors, the crystalline being replied. That is what makes you dangerous. Helen looked around the chamber. Fear was winning the debate. Most aliens were too scared to think clearly about what they were hearing. Then, something unexpected happened. A message came through the chamber's communication system. It was from the Outer Rim, where several independent worlds existed outside council control. The message was from Captain Elena Rodriguez, commander of the human colony ship New Madrid. Her ship had been attacked by unknown vessels while exploring a new star system. We were investigating radio signals from an uninhabited world, Captain Rodriguez reported. When we arrived, we found ruins of a large city. The architecture was unlike anything we've seen before. Helen felt her heart skip a beat. She knew what was coming next. We were taking archaeological samples when 3 ships appeared and opened. Fire without warning. They disabled our engines and boarded us. The attackers were Zephyrians, but they wore no government markings. The chamber erupted in noise again. Helen looked at the Zephyrian delegation. Their leader looked genuinely surprised. By the news. Captain Rodriguez continued her report. The attackers demanded we hand over all archaeological data. When we refused, they threatened to destroy our ship. We managed to escape, but not before recording their transmissions. An audio file played through the chamber's speakers. Helen heard Zephyrian voices speaking in their native language. The translation system converted their words to standard Galactic. Eliminate all evidence of the extinct civilization. The humans must not learn about the Valkyrie. Helen had never heard of the Valkyrie, but from the shocked reactions around the chamber, it was clear that some council members had. Dr. Nixstar stood up again. The Valkyrie were destroyed 15,000 years ago. The official records say they died from a plague. Helen accessed her delegation's database. She found the official report about the Valkyrie extinction. It listed them as herbivorous traders who had built a peaceful civilization on 17 worlds. But Captain Rodriguez's archaeological data told a different story. The ruins her team had found showed evidence of advanced weapons technology and military fortifications. The Valkyrie had been warriors, not peaceful traders. They were predators, Helen said, speaking to the entire chamber. The Valkyrie were another predator species, and you killed them just like all the others. Zorkith tried to regain control of the situation. This is exactly why the predator protocols exist. Humans are already causing chaos and division among council members. But Helen could see that the mood in the chamber was changing. Some aliens were starting to question their government's version of history. A new voice spoke up. It was Ambassador Theises from the Independent Traders Union. I have been reviewing historical records from my people's archives. We have stories of 16 different intelligent species that supposedly died from natural causes in the past million years. After hearing this debate, I realized they might all have been predator species eliminated by the Council. More aliens began speaking up. They shared legends and historical records of civilizations that had vanished mysteriously. The pattern was becoming clear to everyone. The Galactic Council had not just hidden the truth about humans. They had rewritten the entire history of the galaxy. Helen saw her chance. The question isn't whether humans are dangerous. The question is whether any species has the right to decide which others deserve to live. Dr. Nixstar supported her. We have become the very thing we claimed to be protecting the galaxy from. We are the predators now. The debate raged for 3 more days. Council members argued, threatened, and pleaded. Some demanded immediate military action against Earth. Others called for a complete investigation of the Predator protocols. Finally, a vote was called. The motion was simple. Should the Galactic Council implement Phase 2 of the Predator protocols against humanity? Helen watched as the voting began. Red lights meant yes. Blue lights meant no. The chamber filled with colored lights as representatives from 847 different worlds cast their votes. Red lights dominated at first. Fear and tradition were powerful forces. But as the voting continued, more blue lights appeared. The leaked information had made some aliens brave enough to stand up to their own government. When the voting ended, Helen held her breath while the results were calculated. 451 votes to implement the protocols. 396 votes against. Helen felt her heart sink. It was close, but humanity had lost. Then Zorketh stood up to make the final announcement. However, due to the narrow margin and the serious concerns raised about historical accuracy, the Council will postpone implementation of Phase 2 pending a full investigation of the Predator protocols. Helen couldn't believe what she was hearing. It wasn't a victory, but it wasn't a death sentence either. A joint commission will be formed to study human behavior and psychology, Zorketh continued. We will also investigate the historical accuracy of previous species extinctions. This commission will report back to the Council in 6 months. Helen knew it was just a delay. The Council was buying time to figure out how to eliminate humanity without causing a galactic civil war. But 6 months was better than immediate extermination. It gave humans time to prepare for what was coming. As the Council session ended, Helen was approached by several alien representatives who had voted against the protocols. They formed an informal group that would later be called the Reform Coalition. Dr. Nixstar was their unofficial leader. We cannot undo 2 million years of genocide, he told Helen quietly. But we can try to prevent it from happening again. Ambassador Theises from the Traders Union had a more practical concern. If the Council is willing to lie about human history, what else have they lied about? How many other species are living under threat of extinction? Helen realized that the leaked information had done more than just expose the threat. President Mary Walsh stood before the largest gathering in human history. Every screen on every human world was showing her speech. Space stations, colony ships, and military bases across the galaxy had stopped their normal work to listen. Months had passed since the Council vote. Tomorrow, the Joint Commission would present their findings about humanity. Mary knew what those findings would say. Humans were dangerous. Humans were different. Humans should be eliminated. But something had changed in those 6 months. Something the Galactic Council had not expected. My fellow humans, Mary began. Her voice carried to every corner of human space. 6 months ago, we learned a terrible truth. We learned that we are alone in the galaxy as descendants of predators. We learned that other species fear us because of what our ancestors were. The cameras showed crowds of people watching on Earth. Families gathered around screens in their homes. Children sitting quietly next to their parents, trying to understand why the adults looked so worried. We also learned that a secret organization has been destroying predator species for millions of years. They killed entire civilizations, because they were afraid of what those species might become. Mary paused, looking directly into the camera. Today, we face the same choice that those extinct species faced. We can become the monsters they expect us to be, or we can prove that evolution does not determine destiny. In the 6 months since the council vote, humanity had not been idle. Dr. Lisa Martinez and her team had been working with alien scientists from the Reform Coalition. Together, they had made an incredible discovery. The Joint Commission studied human psychology and behavior, Mary continued. They confirmed that we are more aggressive than other species. We are more competitive. We are quicker to use violence when threatened. She smiled slightly. But they also found something that surprised them. Something that makes humans unique. Among all known predator species. The discovery had come from Dr. Nick Starr's research team. They had been studying the psychological profiles of extinct predator species, comparing them to human behavior patterns. Every previous predator species had shown the same trait. They could only extend empathy and cooperation to members of their own group. Wolves protected their pack. Lions defended their pride. Even intelligent predators, like the devourers, had only cared about their own species. But humans were different. We have something the scientists call adaptive empathy, Mary explained. We can extend moral consideration to beings who are completely different from us. We can care about aliens we have never met. We can sacrifice our own interests to protect species that are not related to us. It was true. Human history was full of examples. Humans who had died protecting alien refugees. Human doctors who had developed cures for alien diseases. Human soldiers who had fought against other humans to defend alien colonies. This ability makes us unique in the galaxy, Mary said. We are predators who can choose not to hunt. We are killers who can choose to protect. The Commission's report had documented dozens of cases where humans had acted against their own species' interests to help aliens. No other predator species in galactic history had ever shown this behavior. But Mary knew that good intentions would not be enough to save humanity. The galaxy was still afraid. Fear made people do terrible things. That was why she was about to make the most important announcement in human history. Today, I am proposing a new role for humanity in the galaxy. We will become the Guardians. The plan had been developed by Captain Morrison and his expanded team. If humans were the only predators in the galaxy, that meant all other species were essentially prey animals. They were peaceful, cooperative, and advanced in many ways. But they had one critical weakness. They could not fight. For millions of years, the galaxy has been protected by the Galactic Council's military forces, Mary explained. But those forces were designed to fight other peaceful species. They are not equipped to handle real predators. She activated a holographic display showing the outer edges of the galaxy. Strange signals had been detected there. Signals that suggested something was coming from the dark space between galaxies. Our deep space monitors had detected signs of approaching threats. Entities that appeared to be artificial intelligences from dead galaxies. Cosmic predators that consume entire star systems. Dimensional intrusions from realities where physics works differently. The peaceful herbivorous species of the galaxy were simply not equipped to handle such threats. Their minds could not think like predators. Their cultures had no concept of the kind of ruthless tactics needed to fight cosmic-level dangers, but humans could. We propose to serve as the galaxy's defense force against external threats, Mary said. We will be the sharp edge of a peaceful civilization's sword. In exchange, we ask for full membership in the Galactic Council and access to the advanced technologies we need to protect everyone. It was a radical proposal. Instead of trying to suppress humanity's predator nature, they would channel it toward protecting the galaxy. Admiral Morrison, now promoted to head of the new Guardian fleet, had been working with alien engineers to design ships that combined human tactical thinking with alien technology. The results were impressive. We have already begun joint training exercises with volunteer alien crews, Mary continued. The results exceed all expectations. Human strategic thinking combined with alien technology creates military capabilities, unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. The first test had come 2 months ago. A rogue AI from an ancient dead civilization had begun consuming asteroids in an uninhabited system, growing larger and more dangerous. The Council's peaceful exploration ships had been unable to stop it, but a joint human-alien crew had destroyed the AI in 6 hours. They used tactics that no purely herbivorous species would have considered: deception, misdirection, and coordinated attacks on multiple fronts simultaneously. "We are predators," Mary said, her voice growing stronger. "We cannot change what evolution made us, but we can choose what we do with those instincts." The speech was being broadcast not just to humans, but to the entire galaxy. Alien governments were watching to see how humanity would respond to the Commission's findings. To our alien neighbors, we make this promise: we will never use our abilities to dominate or destroy peaceful species. We will be the guardians you never knew you needed against threats you cannot imagine. Mary looked directly into the camera again. "To those who still fear us, we understand your concern. Fear of predators is written into your DNA, just as predatory instincts are written into ours. But fear and instinct do not have to control our choices." The vote was taken across all human worlds simultaneously. It was not just a vote for a military policy. It was a vote for humanity's future identity. The results were overwhelming. 94% of humans voted to accept the guardian role. Within hours, alien governments began responding. The Reform Coalition immediately endorsed the proposal. Several independent worlds requested human protection from space pirates and rogue eyes. Even some council members admitted that the galaxy needed defenders who could think like predators, but not everyone was convinced. The old fear remained strong among many species. The final council vote was held 1 week later. Mary watched from Earth as Ambassador Helen Carter stood before the assembled representatives of 847 worlds. This time, the vote was different. The question was not whether to destroy humanity, but whether to accept humans as the galaxy's guardians. The debate was shorter than before. Everyone had seen the evidence of what humans could do when they worked with aliens instead of against them. When the votes were counted, the result was decisive: 623 votes in favor, 224 votes against. Humanity had won the right to exist. More than that, they had won the right to serve. President Walsh addressed the galaxy one final time. "We are predators who choose to be protectors. We are hunters who choose to guard the innocent. We are the children of killers who choose to save lives." As she spoke, the first Guardian fleet ships were already departing for the Outer Rim, where dark signals continued to approach the galaxy. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as the fierce protectors of a peaceful galaxy. The predators had become guardians, and the galaxy would never be safer.